The bank also assured its customers that their accounts are safe and secure. Now let's check in on whether that glitch or duplication, as was called by BPI themselves, has affected the stock. Does not seem to be the case. You can see on my Bloomberg terminal here that the BPI stock is actually gaining some ground here. It's up by 1% to 99 pesos and 5 centavos. So we're going to be following the stock throughout the day, especially checking on whether they have resolved this duplication of transactions. Now let's take a step back and take a peek at how global equities performed, particularly Wall Street overnight. You could see that the US stocks did decline. There was also the issue with the oil prices going down. That seems to signal to analysts an unease about the economy or the global economy, how that is going to be dimming. And what actually brought down the levels of the US indices is Tesla, that tumbled to levels not seen since 2020. Apple closed at an 18-month low. Investors are beginning to worry about slowing demand for specific technology stocks. Let's see whether the Asian markets are actually doing any better. We were facing or expecting a muted open, and that seems to be the case here. The Nikkei 225 over in Japan as of 9:27 is down by 1.2%. Markets are in the red as well in Hong Kong and Shanghai. But take a look at other indices here, particularly in South Korea, in Singapore, and in Jakarta, are actually doing pretty well. And the Philippines is joining that set of players in a good, strong open. You can see us at 6,600 levels this morning, levels we haven't seen. I'm pulling back the 3-day chart. Quite a ride here, up by 1.2%. All right, we'll parse through these numbers and other stories with a market analyst when we return. Keep it here on One News. BM's visit to China, and here to share with us more on which stocks may move, we have with us Japheth Tantiangco, Research Manager of PhilStocks. Good morning, Japheth, and welcome.
Good morning, Ma'am Danny. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show.
All right, Japheth, I want to kick off with this visit of President Marcos to China. So he did mention, or at least the palace has mentioned, 10 agreements to be signed, or that's the expectation: agriculture, energy, infrastructure, and trade. One of which will cover the West Philippine Sea dispute. And we did see the mining and oil counter jumping at least yesterday. Tell us, is this just a knee-jerk reaction, or is there some fundamental issues that could really be driving the movements of these stocks?
Well, so far, I believe this can be attributed to speculations. For now, we see speculations in these. As we all know, the West Philippine Sea issue has been a hot topic previously. It was an issue that's filled with a lot of contention. But right now, with President Ferdinand Marcos with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Trying to strengthen ties with China, his at least his efforts in strengthening ties with China is boosting prospects that that finally we can see some actions, or we can see some actions in the West Philippine Sea that's going to be favorable for the Philippine businesses, especially those whose issues are closely tied are closely tied to to the West Philippine Sea. So far for now, I believe the actions, or the movements that we're seeing with the said issues, they are yes, they are signs of optimism, but for now mostly driven by speculation.
Okay, but Jafet, with or without, an agreement, which of course is going to take some time if it even gets to that, what do you think of this counter? What do you think of, investing in such commodities like oil, nickel, these kinds of mining, especially after the year that was 2022, when we saw some of these prices surging, and a lot of interest in this counter?
Well, with respect to commodities, may take different. Commodities could be mixed for this coming year. I mean, they may take different directions. So we'll have to choose carefully which commodities are we going into. I mean, first and foremost, you have oil. You have oil. If well, overall, oil is dependent on how the global economy will work out, and if we do see a slowdown in the global economy, then there's a possibility that prices, of course, prices of oil will go down, and that in turn is going to be negative for those who are into oil production. With respect to nickel, somehow they may also get affected. But so far, if you're going to look at the manufacturing front, we're seeing strength in the said sector. I mean, in the Philippines alone, if you're going to look at our latest PMI data, so we saw a 6-month high. So there's still strength in the manufacturing front. There's still strength in the manufacturing sector. And then you have the likes of China reopening its economy. Though of course there are still risks there. I mean, they're still dealing with a tough COVID-19 situation. But assuming that the manufacturing sector will be resilient amid the challenging times of the global economy, then we still expect strong demand for the likes of nickel, and this is going to be favorable for our nickel producers.
Okay, so very interesting. Like you mentioned here, just to remind our viewers, this came out yesterday in terms of our PMI 6-month high in December, 53.1. Very interesting here. Now, Jafet, let's just take a step back and check in on the bourse. What is bringing about this surge or rally, which has brought us back to 6,600? I mean, especially since when we take a look at what happened in Wall Street overnight and all what you mentioned, worries on the price of oil dropping amid a looming recession. What is driving so much optimism?
I believe this is being driven by the economic and corporate growth prospects for the Philippines. I mean, yes, currently we are seeing signs of global economic slowdown, and there's even the possibility of global recession risks. But we're also seeing that that the Philippines somehow is going to be an outlier for 2023. I mean, yes, of course, it won't be exempted from a possible global economic slowdown. It will still take a hit, but compared to other economies, the Philippines is expected to be resilient. It will be able to withstand whatever the global economy will bring, and that is because we still have strong macro fundamentals. Though of course there are challenges. There are still challenges from elevated inflation to rising interest rates, as there's still the possibility that the BSP may still tighten policies. But then again, given that we already have this momentum that started by the time that we reopened the economy, and a lot of investments has already been poured into the economy, which is setting us up for a higher growth trajectory. And if you're going to look at the labor market, I mean, there are even signs that that the Philippines labor market is tightening. So we're seeing these signs that that the Philippine economic growth will still be intact moving into 2023. And I believe this is the reason why the local market is reacting positively. Plus, if you're going to look at statistical data, another thing that I would like to point out, statistical data. In the past 5 years, from 2018 to 2022, if you're going to look at the average return of the market in its first week of trading, you'll see that it's positive. Meaning to say, investors are always greeting on the average, investors are greeting a new year with optimism, and attributed to the growth story of the Philippines. So I believe the local market is following historical data right now. It's posting gains in its first week of trading. So you have this statistical data, you have the economic growth prospects. But by the end of the day, we still have a caveat. If you're going to look at value turnover, it's still tepid, which goes to show that yes, there's optimism right now, but it's a cautious one. There's still a lot of things that investors would want to be cleared.
Okay, and finally, Japhet, no, one sector that seems to be really in the foray is still the telco space. But now on the upside, so you've got Converge as the best performer. We just got in some word that they have signed a connectivity agreement with Singapore, and then you've got Globe mentioning that they had record high capex, but then you've also got Dito Telecom saying that their capex this year will be slashed to 27 billion pesos, and then of course this PLDT overspend. Where should we be positioning when it comes to the telco space? Are we still optimistic on that sector delivering this year?
Well, with respect to the telecommunications sector, we are optimistic with that. I mean, first and foremost, if you're going to look at the three index members, you have Converge, you have Globe, and you have PLDT. They're still undervalued. Based on our estimates, they're still undervalued. So they are stocks that's still good to look into. Though we advise to be a little bit more cautious with PLDT because of the issues that they've been through recently. Now, with respect to the overall industry, we're seeing good prospects for the telecommunications sector, given that, as mentioned a while ago, the Philippine economy will continue to grow. But this time around, there will be the structural changes will continue within the economy. The economy is going to be more into digital transformation. I mean, that's the name of the game right now. We're continuously moving further into the technological era, and with that, we'll be seeing more digital transactions digital transactions being instilled in the different aspects of the economy, and data service, telecommunications, they will play a big part in this. So because of that, there's still a lot of growth opportunities. There's still a lot of room for opportunities for the telecommunication front. So still a lot of growth ahead. That's why we're optimistic. We're optimistic with that.
All right. So overweight on the telco space, and as you mentioned earlier, hopefully some fundamentals really driving up this morning's rally. Thank you so much, Japhet Tantiangco, Research Manager over at PhilStocks.
You're very much welcome.
Now, for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now. That's at www.signalplay.com. And stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Join us again at 11:15 a.m. I'm Danny Laurel. We are One News, all sides, all the time.